Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit today about those days or those weeks or those months or those years in your life, even sometimes when you were just the most down and the most depressed and the most upset and the most angry and the most sad and all this kind of stuff. I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about my observations of my experience with those types of days in my life. And believe me, I've had plenty of them, right? Every single one of us as human beings goes through those things. And just the observation and the thing that I want you guys to think about today as you're dicing up your life and trying to make heads or tails of things, or even just quite frankly trying to feel better about things and try to move on from those moments and those situations and those instances and all this kind of stuff. The thing that I've observed, guys, is this: those days when I'm feeling most that way are the days that I am just completely inside of my head and nowhere else. It's all just contained and being processed and being absorbed and felt and analyzed and all this kind of stuff, just completely inside my head, inside my little world. That tiny little world that each and every one of you guys has, right? That world between your two ears, just completely inside of your mind. When you're inside your head, right? You're going over the past, you're worrying about the future, you're sometimes even worrying about the now. Those are the days and those are the times when I'm the most down, and you probably are too. And it's just having that consciousness and having that little bit of that understanding can allow you to get out of that and to expand your mind. Because once you realize that you're inside of your head when you're feeling that way, it allows you to do something about it, right? To try to get outside of that. And this is always something that I just know for me works really well, and I hope to pass this on to you. And maybe this is something you can think about, the ways that you can do the same thing. But when I find myself feeling that way, when I'm inside of my head, I try to get out of my head, basically. And the way that I get out of my head is I physically, I will move my geographic location in the form of I'll go travel, or I'll go take a drive for the day, or I'll go do something physical out in the real world. I'll try to get myself out of my little world, out of my little head, out of my little space where all those things are occurring and making me feel bad and taking me down. And yes, this may not be a cure-all for everything, because certainly we all have things we're dealing with that are going to persist, and they're going to be there, maybe at some point to come back and deal with. But just having that ability to, like I said, guys, the most important part here is just to get outside of your head in some way, shape, or form. And the other additional piece that I want to talk about here with you guys is that the other thing about this that strikes me is that a lot of times the things that are happening in our little world, our tiny little like bubble or circle of existence, are truly things that are not that important. The things that are stressing you out right now, the things that are making you angry, sad, mad, all this kind of stuff, in the grand scheme of things are nothing most of the time, right? When you consider the grandeur of the world at large and all of what goes on out there, and just this vast space that we all exist in, if you can also take a moment and stack up your woes and compare them to what somebody else in this world is dealing with, right? With somebody else, their horrible circumstances likely far outweigh a lot of the things that each and every one of us goes through in general in life, right? Not to downplay whatever your issues are right now or whatever you're going through. I'm not saying they're not important or they don't mean anything or whatnot, but just like I said, like when you start to think on those different terms, this can be really relieving. I've found that, right? So one of the things I love to do is read about, space and the cosmos and everything that's out there, or even just, learning about other people's like cultures around the world and the way they live and the conditions and the circumstances that they have in their day to day, right? It makes you appreciate the things you have all the more. And a lot of times it can put those things into perspective that you're dealing with right now, right? It makes them seem not as bad as you might be making them up or playing them up to be in your mind as you're going through them. You're sitting there, you're ruminating, you're consternating, you're stressing out, you're doing all this stuff. We all do that. I do a lot of that in my life, or I have, and this is a daily thing, right? We're all trying to get better at this sort of element of our existences, I think. But like I said, guys, just recognize that a lot of what's bringing you down is just purely like it's in your little mind, right? In your little space, in your little whatever way you want to think about it. And just like I'm saying, guys, when you have those days, when you have those moments, when you have those times, try to get out of your mind in whatever way that comes in. Like I said, if it's a physical thing in the real world that gets you out of your mind for an hour or two or three or six during your day, then do it. Then great. Also, too, if it's one of those things where you're allowed to paint this picture of perspective, upon your circumstances, that can be very helpful and relieving. I've found in my life. Okay. All right, guys. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Talk to you all soon.